All right, Jesse. So, one thing that we've not discussed expressly, but you've probably noticed is there's two ways, well, there's multiple ways, but two generic ways to build just about anything: a positive build or a negative build. So, you have profiles and lines that you can sweep to make something solid, and you can build it the exact shape you want it. But you also have cutters that you can cut away at something. So, you could start with something solid and chip away at it, like you're whittling it down. So, like when we have a shank and then we put in a cutter for a channel, we're doing a negative build in that direction. Or theoretically, you could build a profile that had that channel shape already to it and just sweep that and not worry about running a cutter. That would be more of a positive build. So attaching a halo is going to be the exact same way. So you can attack this a couple different ways. And to be honest, I use both just depending on the ring itself. So I'm going to show you a couple pictures, and I think that'll make it a little bit easier to understand the difference here. So if you look at this ring, you have a halo here, and then this is all pretty even. Basically, this all looks the same, but it's just got this hole missing here. Probably cut that out with a cutter. Same thing with this one. This is all, it looks like, I mean, essentially looks like one piece that had something cut out. Versus this definitely looks like one piece here and then something else on the underside. Same goes for this. You can see how this swoops up, and then this is almost like a thinner piece, not only in height but in width as well. You can kind of see where it attaches to the metal here. I'll show you how to build both. If you always know how to positive build, you'll be fine because things don't always look as straight as this. But you certainly don't need to always go that route. So let's put in kind of like a fake halo up here. Let's see, I'm just going to put in like a circle. It's going to look like something. Whoop, extrude. Okay. And let's put in a finger size. It really, well, doesn't really matter for which one. You'll find that the bigger the finger size, the easier it is to attach things, though. Most halo rings have a center stone that's, I would say, anywhere from about 7.5 to almost 10 millimeters high. I know that sounds like a lot, but I mean, to be perfectly frank, that's really kind of what it takes by the time you put something under here and all that. So I'm just going to move that to there. So I mentioned that the bigger the finger size, sometimes the easier it is to attach things. It just gives you more room here. If it's a really tiny fingered woman, I mean, we've actually made rings in a size 3 before. You can see how awkward that gets. The ring is going to have to arc like straight up. Is really weird. Versus a petite size 10, I mean, you definitely have a swoop shape. I think we had this at like a size 6, 5 3/4, something like that. But let's go back to kind of a generic size. So if I were building one of these first couple, so let's look at things that cathedral up to the halo. So cathedral means arc up. I could be as simple as starting with an outside ring rail. And as long as I altered my shape here, I mean, you can kind of see this sort of looks like that second picture. This has something else. Ignore that, pretend like that comes up to the halo. You can kind of get the idea, right? I could find one that arcs a little. I think there was one somewhat slope. Okay, something like that. Your goal is pretty much always for the end of the halo to meet the end of the shank. You'll see that's true, not of this one, but of most halo rings. See how it comes up here, comes up to here. If I just kind of look at what else Google shows us, that does it, that does it, that does it. That's by far the norm. So you really want it to come right up to the edge. Okay, so that's a pretty simple swooping shape. Now you need it to be solid. You could extrude it. Just make sure you do both sides. Okay, so it's solid, but guess what? We can cut out the finger rail. I think we've used this before. So the 1, 2, 3, fourth one in, cut to finger rail. So yeah, we did, because we used it for cutting prongs. Okay, so this comes up through the halo. No big deal. I could use one of our plane cutters. Bring it up basically a little higher than the halo. Oh, you know what? Actually, I'm not going to do that yet. I don't... Oh, wait, no, I can. I couldn't remember if we talked about cap yet. If we haven't, you know what? We're going to talk about it now. So I'd split that. Delete the top. If you end up with a hole like this, you could sweep to it, right? You could use rail 1, rail 2, profile 1, profile 2. That would sweep it. And you could also type in cap. As long as it's a flat end, it'll close it. And then you'll find, it makes more sense actually from this view, most of them have a cutout that's shaped something like a triangle. And when you look at it from this view, it makes more sense, right? Because we got to be able to fit that diamond in there. Basically, we need a hole for it to sit. What I would do, I would just offset my outer ring rail, my inner ring rail, trim it and extrude it. Let me show you that in action. So I would offset this by, what's that, like maybe 1.5. Let's make it a different color. Offset this by 1.5. Okay, do you kind of see what's happening here? I could trim off the excess. And then I basically just need it to come up to here. I could blend the edges. Join it all together. Bam shabam. Just like we made this solid with extrude, I would make my cutter solid with extrude and Boolean difference it. I know this video is moving really fast, but it's because I want to show you two different ways. I always save my cutters. I like to put them down here in this grouping in case you're ever looking at one of my files. You kind of know where to expect to see it. All right. That is the generic shape of a cathedral halo. So again, I searched cathedral halo. I mean, look at how many of these look basically exactly like that. Okay. So let's talk about a positive build. What I would do is sweep to my shape. So in that case, I'd probably end up offsetting this line to here. In fact, what I might do, sounds a little crazy, is I might end up drawing the line. Ooh, I really hope someone gets that phone. So as long as you have it kind of intersect your ring rail, you could mirror it and trim the ring rail and join it. Don't worry, you're like, but I need that ring rail. Just put in another one. No big deal. I'd probably clean this up. There's a couple ways you can clean up a curve. You can use control points, which is points on. I'd probably delete this one at the points, make it like a softer edge, maybe bring this down, right? I could do the same thing with this outer one, right? I could kind of alter my shape. You can see some of them come up a little more like this. I mean, you can kind of get the same idea, right? Like whatever shape you're mimicking, you want to do that. So you could type in points off or escape to get out of that. And then from there, you just want to do a sweep to. You could also extrude the curves if this is solid. I'll just show what that means. If I extruded it right now, see how that's not closed? It's because that's not closed up here, right? Like it doesn't understand to make it solid. So if I wanted to, I could extrude it by putting a line here and here. And yes, I know that these aren't even side to side. It's just because I'm just showing you the basic premise, right? Oh, what? It still didn't do it. It's because I didn't join it. Heller, join. Oh, an open curve. Ooh, something's funny, and guess what? I just found it. Let's undo our join. It's because I didn't snap it to the end. There's a quad right there that it snapped to. Sneaky, sneaky. That's the number one culprit if something doesn't sweep right, by the way. All right, so it doesn't match. Guess what? We don't care because we can quad flip it. We can split it in half and mirror it. We can use any number of tools that we want. See how I joined that? Now let's say I didn't want to extrude it. Let's say I wanted to have more control. You will have to wait to find that out because someone's here to see me.